The U.S. House of Representatives is stuck in limbo as the war in Israel enters its second week. Because without a Speaker of the House, Congress cannot pass a package of additional assistance to Israel, or Ukraine for that matter. And it appears the Republican majority is no closer to electing a Speaker. After a series of votes behind closed doors yesterday, House Republicans nominated Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio. The problem is, well, one of the problems is he's still more than 60 votes short of the 217 he'll need on the House floor. So while Republicans say their goal is to hold a vote of the full House on Tuesday, it's unclear whether that will actually happen. What is clear, however, is that the majority's inability to govern could have an impact on the role of the United States in the world, especially as we all watch what's happening in Israel. I'm joined now by Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, who is also a former officer in the U.S. Marines. He served 4 tours in Iraq. Congressman, thank you so much for joining me this evening. You served for a number of tours in Iraq, as I mentioned, and you recently expressed concern about Israel's strategy to dismantle Hamas in Gaza. You warned that, quote, if they just go in and kill the Hamas operatives of today, you could well have twice as many tomorrow. I thought this was a really interesting point because there's so much red teaming and planning in the U.S. government and the U.S. military, as you know, and it's not clear what's happening here. But tell me more about what concerns you the most.
Well, first of all, let me just start with the fact that Israel does have to kill Hamas operatives. I mean, that's part of a counterinsurgency campaign, is taking out what we call the irreconcilable terrorists, people who we are never going to be able to bring over to your side. And Israel's certainly planning for that operation. But there's this other piece of counterinsurgency that we call insurgent math. And General McChrystal famously estimated this to be that for every 1 innocent civilian you kill, you recruit about 10 terrorists. That's a real problem with how densely populated Gaza is. So if Israel goes in and let's say they kill 1,000 Hamas terrorists in the first few weeks of an operation, I mean, I think that's going to be tough for them to do given how well hidden they'll be and everything else. But let's say they're able to do that and they only kill 150 civilians. Well, you do the 10-to-1 math, and they've recruited 1,500 Hamas new fighters. That's 50% more than the number they just killed. So they've got to really have a plan, not only to target Hamas, but to protect the civilian population. Or in the long run, they're going to lose this war because they're literally going to inspire more terrorists to the cause than they kill.
We had General McCaffrey and Lieutenant General Twitty on earlier, and we were talking exactly about this, about kind of what to expect and how to approach the multiple challenges here. Though you served 4 tours in Iraq, how does this operationalize what Israel's preparing right now? They have hostages that are reportedly potentially being held in tunnels, being used as human shields. Obviously, there's Hamas terrorists they're trying to get and kill off. There are many civilians. What does this look like in terms of the ground operation?
Well, first of all, let me just start with the 4 tours. I went to Iraq expecting to do 1 tour. And I came home to a victory parade in California because we thought we had won the war. Everyone thought we had won the war. But of course, it wasn't over. And soon thereafter, I found myself back on another tour to be followed by 2 more because the long war had started. And after that initial victory where we went in and dismantled, disabled, defeated Saddam's army, the insurgency started. And so Israel faces the same fundamental challenge, that they can go in and they can start killing Hamas fighters. That's part of the effort. It's a reasonable thing for them to do. But then they have a real problem where this could drag on for a very long time. They need to think about what the plan is for the day after. And it's tough. Jen, I remember one day in Najaf in 2004 in urban warfare where we were called in to actually rescue a special forces team caught in a school. And they had taken some casualties. We got the casualties out. But then we assaulted the school. It was just a 2-story building. We made 1 assault. They rolled grenades down the stairs. We had to pull out. I made the difficult decision that I didn't want to see more young Marines potentially lose their lives. So I called it an airstrike on the building instead. That worked. But 2 things. First of all, that was just 1 small building. The buildings in Gaza are about 10 times as tall. You can imagine how much more difficult this will be for the Israeli soldiers going in there. And second of all, the result was that we had leveled a school. Now, we were confident there weren't any civilians in there, so we weren't necessarily creating more terrorists immediately. But if we didn't then rebuild that school, parents were going to be furious. And so there's this whole second phase to the operation that we learned we had to do in Iraq. After we had that successful assault to clear the city of Najaf of terrorists, we then had to go in and spend months and months rebuilding it, rebuilding our relationship with the innocent people of Najaf, rebuilding the infrastructure that we had destroyed as part of the fighting. And all of that was essential to actually winning the war.
Congressman Seth Moulton, so important to remember history and to remember experience. Appreciate you sharing yours with us this evening.